If you have any health-related questions, we would love to hear from you. Call your questions and comments in at 472-1111 or text or WhatsApp 686-9999. If you're in the CNMI, please call 323-1113. Welcome everybody to Total Health.
Hello everyone. Hello Guam. How are you today? I hope we are all having a good time enjoying the sunshine of Guam. But today we're going to talk about the days of evil. We don't want to pretend that evil is not there. We don't want to think that evil does not exist. We don't want to just not talk about it because there are days of evil that all of us, we have to go through or we are going through. If you're going through very unfair times and you haven't done anything about it, maybe this talk today is about you. Nobody is getting a free ride. Sometimes we think, oh, why it's so hard for me, and I'm seeing other people, happily married or happily ever after, or everything works good for them, but wow, my life goes that way. And we kind of start complaining and believing some distorted thoughts about our lives, not realizing that nobody gets a free ride. We all go and we all have our share of, pain while we are in this world. And today we're going to talk about evil times. And since we're trying to build up our hope in the 13 weeks to hope this year, we cannot talk about hope without addressing the dark side or the other side of that, which is fear, which is living in evil times. In fact, in Jeremiah 17:17, we have this verse that says, "Be not a terror unto me, because, Lord, you are my hope in the day of evil." So even Jeremiah at that time noticed that there are days of evil. And when we talk about evil, sometimes, for us, evil is what we're hearing on the news. Just 2 minutes ago, we heard about the news, about the bridge falling down, 6 people being injured, somebody trying to inject, neuroparalytic medication, killing a patient. So we are talking about those news that nowadays we have the privilege or we have the curse to hear the news from all around the world. Well, evil is happening and it's happening right now, and maybe we are going through unfair times. Maybe something really, really unpleasant is happening to our life that we haven't done anything to contribute for that. That talk is today about evil times and how we can actually see God even in those dark moments. As we begin to look at the times we live in, there is not one person who can remain oblivious to the fact that we live in evil times. The media constantly barrages us with the news of school shooting, kidnapping, climate disasters, pollutions, war breakout, and new areas that we had not imagined even before, and areas of sudden destruction. This is not a race for the faint-hearted. Life is not easy. I'm not saying it's not for everyone. It is for everyone. But on the way, we really need to build so many coping strategies. And mind you, I rarely see that life gets easier. We usually think, oh, okay, maybe if I get that job, or maybe if I get to that school, or maybe if I get that education, or maybe if I have that husband or that wife, things would be different. And it is not for the faint-hearted. It shows that life does not get easy and we just get stronger. And if we are to believe that life is going to get easy, we're going to be disappointed and our expectations are not going to be justified. It's not getting easier. We know, and the Bible has predicted that at the end of times, the crime will increase, the unfaithfulness will increase, the hatred will increase, the disasters will increase. The Bible has predicted that it's not going to become easier. We just have to become stronger with someone's help. And when I talk about that, I just would like quickly to review some of the fatalities that took place in 2023. Talking about armed conflicts and wars, well, we had so many deaths. Even from the beginning of starting the war between Ukraine and Russia, more between 180,000 and 220,000 people have left this earth. Many times I think that life is like a train. Some people get in and some people get off, and you never know when is your stop. And just the train keeps on going, and it doesn't wait for us. It doesn't ask us if we're okay, if we had time, if we had breakfast, did we have time to do our chores at home. Life just keeps on going, and some of us get in on that train, some of us get off the train, and we don't know when that moment will be for every one of us. Well, the train did not continue for approximately 220,000 people in Ukraine. Do we live in evil times? Yes, we do. Are they as evil as the time of First World War and Second World War? Some scholars might claim so. Let's talk about the biggest calamities that took place last year. Just the conflict of Myanmar, or most of us know that country as Burma. We don't talk about that country because we don't hear much about it. Burma does not have any treasures that big countries might be interested in it. And there is an ongoing conflict there that it is from 1948. It's a civil war from 1948 and still keeps on going strong. I visited last year the areas in Burma through the border with Thailand, and I witnessed that those people are not daily, weekly, or monthly really subjected to bombing. Well, within all those years, close to 180,000 people have died. And those are their own people within their own borders. Just for 2023, there were 15,700 people that died in this country. And just starting from the year, already we have 3,000 people. And those are kids. When I went to that place, I visited a school, which we are sponsoring, and we're trying to give some education to those kids. And they asked me to talk to them and said, hey, some people call me Dr. Elena. Dr. Elena, can you talk to them? Could you give them some encouraging words? And I stood in front of those kids and I was thinking, what encouraging words can I tell them? They can lose their life any moment. Those young kids were looking at me with those thirsty eyes, and they were hoping some words of encouragement will come out of my mouth. And I stood there and tears started rolling down my cheeks. At any moment, all of them can be killed. And I stood and I said, kids, many people do not know God. The country on one side doesn't know God. The country on the other side doesn't know God. But you do. God will make you the happiest people one day on earth, one day in heaven. You never know. God has unlimited resources, but many times we forget that this is not our home. God did not intend that this will be our home in the situation that it is. Well, we'll continue forward with, the Israeli Arab Gaza conflict. That hasn't been, it hasn't happened from the last year. That is also a war that has been taking place since 1948. But we heard more about it because it is coming more outrageously brutal. So just all cumulative death toll in that area is close to 73,000 people. Just last year, close to 32,519 people. This year already we have 13,750. Those are so many people that have left the earth the last year, that have left the train prematurely. And then we know Burkina Faso, so many countries are still in a conflict with the Maghreb insurgency that started from 2002. 14,000 last year, already 3,280 people. The war in Sudan is going. still, and started last year, like more seriously. Already 3,000 people have died last year. 13,000 people did not continue on the train of life. There's so many more conflicts that I wouldn't even have time to even state them. What about the Taliban's? What about the Afghanistan conflict? Like in total, close to 2,584,000 people have died. Yeah, from that, a conflict since 1978. What about Somalia? What about Congo? What about Nigeria, Iraq, South Sudan, Boko Haram in Africa, Syria, Turkey, Yemen, Ethiopia, even Haiti. There are so many evil things that are taking place on a daily basis. What about earthquakes? What about catastrophes? Are we living really indeed in evil times? Well, earthquakes keep on increasing, and I read somewhere that since the 1960s, the frequency of earthquakes and disasters have increased by 480%. Last year, the biggest 2 storms on Earth have crossed Guam. And I believe all of us, even though we live in evil times, we have seen the hand of the Lord slowing down one of the typhoons from Category 5 to Category 4, barely hitting us. I'm saying it hit us, but barely hitting us, and then continuing as a Category 5. The second one wasn't even, it did not hit us. It just passed between the 2 islands, but it speed up after that to Category 5. We do live in evil times. And when I'm saying that, it is not because I would like us to be discouraged. Actually, those are signs that the Earth, the planet Earth, is in convulsions. It's about to deliver somebody greater that is going to rescue us. As I am describing all that statistic, I would like also, to just mention the pain and the struggle that the families of the people that have lost their life are going through. It's not easy. Our parents really brought us on this earth to enjoy the earth, to be like the crown of their love in most of the cases. And then we see sadness, pain, disasters that we are rarely prepared for that. We are not in our software. It's not that we are living to be unhappy. In our software, we know that life should not hurt, should be amazing. But often it doesn't happen like that. And when we go through those storms, we don't know how to react. We turn out to God and we ask God, why did you create evil times on this earth? Just the Turkey magnitude of earthquake last year, 7.8, the Richter scale, it killed close to 60,000 people just in one country, which was devastating. And then Morocco, we got 2,960. Fortunately, in Afghanistan, not only the Taliban insurgency and pain happens, but also an earthquake. And Nepal and China and Ecuador and Philippines, and the list keeps on going.
Wow, Elena, I never even knew about those stats from around the world. That's a lot. That's a lot. Thank you for those, Elena. We're going into a short break. Call in your health questions on Guam, 671-472-1111. In the CNMI, 670-323-1113. We're streaming live on Facebook. Go ahead and leave your comment in the comment section below, and Elena will answer it right away. You can listen live online, joyfmradio.net. We'll be right back.
People often use percentages when it comes to giving. They give a percentage of total personal income. The person on the top of America's giving list had a single year giving of $1.9 billion. 2.6% of their net worth. If our radio ministry were to receive a gift that large, we wouldn't need any additional support for the next century. But God has a better plan. It involves you. No matter how you determine what gift is appropriate, we're in awe of your willingness to support us. From Joy FM.
Si Joe Usmaasi, and thanks for listening to Total Health on Joy FM. We want to hear from you. Call in with your health-related questions at 472-1111 in Guam or in the Sinamai. The number to call is 323-1113. Text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. And now, back to the show.
Welcome, everyone. We are continuing with the 13 weeks to hope this year. As you know, we have started 3 years ago with 13 weeks to joy, because we are at Joy FM, and it was dedicated to people that have lost their joy. Not everybody is joyful all the time, and we acknowledge that, and that's why we started the program 13 Weeks to Joy. If you have lost your joy, please connect with our website and with us on WhatsApp and Facebook, and find some of those talks if you're really struggling with that. Not much is spoken about emotional health, and that's why we are willing to bring up that concern, especially on the island of Guam and Micronesia, when we don't like to talk about emotional health, but maybe it's nice to hear it on the radio because it kind of involves us indirectly. You can visit our websites and you can see some of our previous radio shows that we tackle very well the emotional health and the 13 weeks to joy. Then last year we were talking about 13 weeks to love, and that program was dedicated to people that have suffered in love, that they have really tried to build their life well, but it did not work that way. Or maybe they have been abandoned by their parents in a way that we pointed out to everyone to look up in the sky and believe that there is a being that loves you more than anything else. And this year we are building the 13 weeks to hope. And we believe that the world, more than anything, needs people that can bring hope. Hope actually becomes like the highest measurement of really of well-being. And I believe very soon this is what we're gonna check, how hopeful we are when patients come to the clinic. That will be a question number one, how hopeful you are. Because if you find hope, even in dark times, in evil times, you can overcome anything. But if you're like slumbered by everything that is happening around you and you can't lift your eyes and you don't see any solution out there, it will be very difficult. And I hope you seek help, and I hope you talk about it and you don't decide to, terminate the pain in some, painful way. It is not worth it, and today's radio show is trying to bring more hope in evil times. Well, Scott, as you know, every week when we discuss emotional health and the 13 Weeks to Hope, we have a new hero. This time, the chapter was written by Marilyn Ravina is her name, and she's a health coach that she has helped hundreds of women and men as well to come to a realization that there is hope and not everything is lost. So she wrote that chapter, and she is very insightful. She went through so many experiences in her life, which I'm going to share, to a point that she acknowledges that the world is indeed very evil, but she somehow found a way to smile through those dark storms. So she's saying that when she was young, she was able to visit the Hudson River's cruises, and she believed that she can clean the whole river. She, as a child, we are born with great dreams, and we think that everything is possible. Our parents bring us up in a way that, hey, you can make your impact, you can make a difference. And so she believed that the world is polluted, but she can be one of those that she can clean it. She can clean and why not starting from the Hudson River? It's a dirty river, and you can start cleaning it, and sooner or later you will see everything flourishing. I was like that as a child. I don't know about you. Have you had those dreams starting to pull out
Yes.
things from the ocean, thinking you
Yes, I
can make a
have.
difference? And
Hmm.
then after a while, you say, oh no, it's too much. I don't think I'm making a difference because the more I clean, the more garbage comes in, right? And
Hmm.
we kind of give up. The more we grow, the more we give up on those dreams. But it has never been God's intention for us. It actually has always been to pursue those, childish dreams of ours that God has given us. And so she started like that, and she realized that the world is actually very polluted. Everything that she tried and she believed in, like all of a sudden things started tumbling down. At a very young age, she realized that when guys tell her that they love her, actually they don't mean it. And that is very important because many times we are very naive. I'm not saying only women, men as well. I mean, we are naive. Nobody is born knowing how to act in love, and so we all do our mistakes. Then people do play some games, and then they get hurt, and then then become wise, and then they don't want to deal with that anymore, and then they get more isolated, and the process keep on going. But she realized very soon that when guys are telling her, "Oh, I love you. I'm gonna do this for you and that for you," actually doesn't turn out every time
Oh no.
to be true. And she one time she said to one guy, "Oh, you really like me? You really love me, or you just want to be with me?" And the guy ran away. And she realized that well, maybe not every time what it seems like love, it is love. And it takes some time for young people or teenagers to get to that conclusion. Sometimes we have the other way around, even nowadays. Okay, you don't have to involve your heart. You can just physically enjoy whatever enjoyment the world can offer you. And we have seen, and statistic has shown that does not bring to any fulfilling, down the road satisfaction, but actually it becomes more painful. And it takes some time to find the right person, but not always the right solution is just to try different people,
Hmm.
because every time you do, you give a piece of yourself away. That's kind of you lose quite a lot of yourself by giving yourself
Yes.
out.
Right. So the new age dating doesn't work.
Statistics shows that it doesn't. Very rarely we have successful stories. I'm not saying that there aren't. Very
Mhm.
rarely, even on, online dating, it's quite popular nowadays. But in general, most of the scholars and psychologists, they find that it is better to spend time with that person. At my time, like I'm kind of older, we didn't have the word dating. It didn't exist. We would just spend more time with certain people, and the more that person you like, you just find a reason to be around that person. I don't know, some
Mhm.
festivals
Mhm.
or some gatherings together, and you spend more time. Then you like that person, and that person likes you, and then you decide to really, make things together.
Right.
Nowadays is the other way around. Okay, I have those criterias, those criterias, and you have those criterias, and I can work with 19 out of 20 criterias, and then we meet, and it becomes it becomes a very hard job.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it doesn't work,
Right.
and
Right.
in some cases, but it becomes like a more of criteria and standards, maintaining then cultivating pure love. Please don't take me wrong. I'm not judging anybody that is
Right.
have tried different methods and they
Mhm.
found that online dating works, but it is really more discouraged because
Oh, I
we
see.
see also how many marriages take place, and then at the same time how many divorces are taking
Right.
place.
And the divorce rate now and nowadays, it's I heard it's risen or it went up.
Oh, absolutely. Even in Guam,
Mhm.
and knowing that it's a primarily Catholic,
Right.
environment, and divorce is not encouraged, we see those
Mm.
tendencies.
True. So true. It ends up in a disaster. So sad, but we have to face the truth, and that's what the truth is. And when we talk about the stats about divorce and online dating, we could just look around. We're not blind. We can look around on how many, I guess, people went into that direction, it's not a good direction to go to. It's
Right.
bad on the emotions, bad on the kids, but unfortunately, it doesn't work.
And it doesn't work. Like, it makes us into people that we chase some happiness that not always would be justified. We think that the grass is greener on the other side,
Right.
and then later on we realize maybe that was a mistake, or all that. We try to suppress our feelings to certain time, and then we realize that, wow, we have been deprived of our feelings. We want to be compensated for our feelings. We want to redeem that time, and we try to find some desperate measures that not always end up in the right
Right.
way. And I cannot even tell you how many patients I have in which the husband will say, my wife cheated on me, or the wife will say, he cheated on me, he chose a younger one, or he will say she chose somebody that's richer than me. And like a devastating effect of a divorce. It's like your expectations, the dashed hopes you had that you can build up that family with that person, is just so painful, and it can be so immense that many people might think even really to end it up at that level.
And not all the relationships on the new age dating end in divorce or end in breakups. I'm pretty sure there are some that succeed.
Oh no, there are some that succeed, but what the world is finding is that there is no this lasting fulfillment.
Oh, okay.
The times of evil
Mm-hmm.
are around us, so
Right.
we are trying to build happiness surrounded by evil. And then it
Okay.
is not very easy, and unless two people are committed to work against those power of darkness and say, yes, look, life is very unfair, very difficult, but me and you, we are together in that.
That's
and
right.
and not like, oh, okay, we have those issues and the kids are this, and maybe the child has some malfunction, abnormality, and then one they start blaming each other, and then they start finding some solution outside of the family that we know how most of the times end up, and breaking the heart of extended families, and
Right.
keep on going and keep on going. What I'm trying to say it is that it is very difficult to build happiness in the midst of evil times.
Yes.
And the evil times are increasing, not only for areas that there are wars, but also on the peaceful island of Guam. We don't have it all together. We will never have it, because that earth is not designed for us to live forever. God is going to change it. God is going to restore it. And we're going to have to live back on this earth, because God will choose it to be the throne of, of his habitat. He's going to live on this earth. But before that, we have to face quite a lot of challenges. So let's think wise, because many times the evil times, we created it ourselves. I hear so much about domestic violence within the family that should not be, should not be there. If we can prevent to contribute to more evil to this earth, please don't. Even though happiness can be rare, can be this moment from time to time that we have we can breathe out, like we can feel a relief, and then it becomes hard again until we can breathe again. Let's cultivate those moments of happiness, because we're surrounded by times of evil, and it's becoming harder and harder and harder to find happiness and stay truthfully happy in God. Even.
Yes. So true. The evil times, we need each other, and we need a bond with each other and hold on tightly with ourselves, with each other.
Of course.
We're going into another break. You can call in your health question on Guam, 671-472-1111, and then the CNMI 670-323-1113. Text and WhatsApp us 671-686-9999. We're streaming live on Facebook. Go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below, and Elena will get it answered to you right away. We're streaming live. Oh, I already said that. You can listen live online, joyfmradio.net. We'll be right back.
Some people have a lot to give. Sometimes they give to us. It's a profound blessing to receive a more than enough gift. Giving proves that God is changing hearts and minds. It's easy to keep what you have, to buy things you want. That's natural. Giving requires faith, and faith is a gift from God. When we couldn't afford the price to be right with God, He paid it and then changed the heart of giving. Joy FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Total Health on Joy FM. Call in with your health-related questions to 472-1111 in Guam. If you live in the CNMI, we want to hear from you too. Call 323-1113 or text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. And now, here's more Total Health.
So I'll continue the story of Marilyn Ravina, that she was just a young girl when she realized that the world, this earth, is quite polluted, and she realized that she cannot make it cleaner as she was expecting. Then she had many relationships with boyfriends that for some reason they were all fall apart. You know, she would think it's a real love and then it will not happen to be. And she even developed, she doesn't say it directly, but from what I'm reading between the lines and the context, an eating disorder. She became extremely slim, not being willing to eat, her hormones of leptin and ghrelin, hormones that stimulate the appetite or suppress it, were just out of proportion. And she started numbing herself, numbing her feelings, not knowing what to do. I talked to many of our listeners that might be struggling with an eating disorder when we're trying to compete with some unreasonable rules to be perfect. And we know perfection exists only in God, or we're trying to be good enough, or maybe we're striving to be more than good enough. And she was one of those young girls. She really wanted to be the best, to look good, to really buy love with that. As if like when you for girls it's very challenging, because we believe that the more beautiful we are, the more we will be happier, and the more we will get what we need in life. And that's why many put a lot of effort into that, when we realize that actually even beauty does not buy you happiness.
That's right.
It might give you also false expectations, and many beautiful women, they suffer in certain way, and just the same. Just the same, because we are surrounded with times of evil. So she said that she found at some point herself, being a college girl, completely hopeless. She had no idea what her purpose of life is. She was wondering where she can find that true meaning. And most of us, if not all of us, we have this big gap in our souls, an emptiness that we kind of seek to find it, to fulfill it, to fill it in. And it takes some time for us to figure out where we can find it. So she was trying to find that, and she was trying different religions. She went to so many different places trying to find real meaning. She even went to the Moon Society trying to find some peace or some meaning, or somebody that can explain the troublesome questions of pollution in this world and the souls of people. And nothing seemed to be working, and she became very, very despondent. She was in a spiritual battle for her soul, she said, and the moment of a great conflict with a greater power that she had ever encountered. In a way, one time she cried out to heaven. She said, "Jesus, please help me." She wasn't sure if Jesus is the real God or anything, because she was searching. But she said, something is missing in my life, and I cannot find this true fulfillment, lasting fulfillment. Jesus, please help me. And she felt like as if God talked to her and said, if you have a faith, even as small as a grain of mustard seed, you will move this mountain. You know, it's very difficult because that puts a pressure on us. We know that verse. We know that if we have a little faith, we can do miracles. But many times we get to a point that we don't even have that faith. You know, that faith even have to come from God, because we don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
We lose it. We're surrounded by time, in times of evil. And we believe, and we struggle a lot as Christians, that we think that as Christians we can't be depressed. Because if you're depressed, then you're not close to God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, There are so many Bible heroes that went to depression themselves. Elijah, David, Job, even Jesus.
Joseph.
Like even Jesus himself, on the cross, he said, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" He hid the depression. He died by faith, not by sight. At that moment, he said, "I just know that the Lord is good." But he wasn't full of hope that he will be resurrected and everything will be okay. He said, "Father, I did what I could. The rest is up to you. I know you're ultimately good, but do with my life as it pleases you." He completely surrendered. He had no idea that he's going to be resurrected. So we all go through that, and life will press us to a point that we'll question if God really cares for us. Even if you have been walking in the church and you have been doing so many things for the Lord, you'll get to a point that you'll ask those hard questions. Like, God, do you really care for me? How can you leave my 6-year-old sister to die from a cancer? Like, if I have been always good to you, and how can you allow those calamities to happen? And to my brothers in Myanmar, Burma, or Afghanistan, or Gaza, or Ukraine, how can you do that? Do you love us more than you love those people in those war zones? What it is happening? And we tend to put a lot of pressure on God when it comes to those hard questions. I personally, I don't know anybody that hasn't asked those hard questions. Why I'm here? What's the purpose? Why was I created? Where I'm going? What's going to happen with me? I believe all of us have asked that question, and we are searching for it in different places. So Marilyn also was asking that question. And we put a lot of pressure on God because of that. We forget that God did not create the evil times. That God did not create them, but God allowed them because of our free will. And sometimes we say, but why God? Why don't you just terminate all that and just, come and just change it all and all that? And he's going to do it. It's not going to be forever. Evil times are not going to last forever. There is night, but there is day.
That's right.
There is darkness, but sunshine comes in the morning.
Yes.
There is a storm, and we had Mawar, but then, we can enjoy sunshine today. So it's not going to be always there, but it is there right now. And he's been there for 21 centuries. And it's getting harder and darker and, and more vicious, if I can say. So let's talk about God, and let's talk about why he would not eliminate the evil while we are here. I many times I would ask that question, and I came with very different answers, but I think I'm just gonna summarize with the one that I believe is like the most truthful. If God does everything that we want him to do, are we gonna feel those evil times? Are we gonna think that this earth is paradise? Let's say today I ask you whatever I want all those money, I want all this, whatever kids I imagine, family I imagine. And if God gives me all that, am I gonna realize that I'm living in an earth that I do not belong to?
That's a good question. How would it feel like? I mean, if God will just give us anything we wanted, where's the love? Where's how are we gonna have faith, or
right?
How are we gonna
How we're gonna build those things? Because this is not our permanent. This is not where we belong to, and we will not appreciate heaven. We will not look even to heaven. We'll be like, oh, I have everything here. I have everything I've ever wanted. All my dreams are fulfilled. I'm good. Oh no, thank you. Go and help somebody. Oh, they should help themselves because, God is helping me. God can help them. I don't have to do anything about it. How are we going to feel? And how are we going to see the consequences of evil?
Right. And there's not, like what you said, there's nothing to look forward for anymore. We're just going to relax and.
Yeah. And just we're going to indulge in everything that, it's out there provided. Well, since sin came to this earth, there is evil. God did not design it. but allow that possibility. Otherwise, he would have created robots that whatever he tells us, we're going to do it. And he didn't want that. He took a very big risk in creating free-willed beings that one day they can turn against him. And we did. But he also had a plan to rescue us from that. And he did. He came, he died, he resurrected. This is what we celebrated on Easter.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one that resurrected. No other got resurrected. He resurrected from the dead, indeed, and he had been seen from so many witnesses. And so he has a plan for us that even if the death comes in our lives, there will be a solution out. We can be resurrected if we died with faith and with hope. And this is what we're trying to cultivate.
That's right.
In times of evil. And if he was God, I mean, mind you, if I was God, I wouldn't have gone through what Jesus went through. He was God,
Right.
and he came through those evil times. He was beaten up 39 times, several times, with a whip. He was crucified, and he was God. Does Jesus know what evil times are? Many times when we say, what do you know? You're up there in heaven. You're looking down at us. What do you know? It is just so painful to lose a child, to lose a husband, a spouse, a wife, to lose so many people at the same time, to witness an earthquake and a war. God, how can you allow that? I mean, God did not even stop that for himself. He had to go through evil times, and he had to go through it for a reason. When we have a conflict between two people, do you think those two people are going to resolve the problem? It's difficult.
It is.
It's
It is.
difficult. And so when that conflict has been going on for a while, you need a third party to decide who is right and who's
Mhm.
wrong, right?
Yes.
And so if there is a war between evil and good, and we are part of it, we are affected by it. If there is a war between good and evil, who is going to decide who is right?
We need a judge.
We need a judge. We need a third party.
Mm-hmm.
And, and if you know who is that third party, what would you do if you're evil?
Oh.
You're going to bribe it,
Mm-hmm.
right? What would you do if you're good?
Yes.
You're gonna stay neutral,
That's right.
right?
Right.
Yeah, because this is how it is fair. Well, so there is evil and there is good in heaven. It started, thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Then evil came to this earth, and we know how. And so now we have evil and good. And it is for us to know evil and good,
Mhm.
as the Bible said in Genesis, that the moment you eat from the forbidden fruit, your eyes will be open, you will be able to recognize evil and good. And so we are the only creatures, being in this whole universe that know what good and evil is.
Mm-hmm.
So we're the only ones that we can judge what is good and what is wrong. And many times our values are so messed up that we
Mhm.
can't even say what it is this and what is that, because the evil had bribed us in a way to think that maybe evil should be more desirable than good, or that we
Right.
have enough of God not doing much, not to intervene as much in our life, to choose evil instead. And so Satan was able to bribe Eve, then bribe Adam and the whole humanity. So he says, now I have a bigger chance that those people will be on my side when I have the judges on my side. And we know how much that ended up. Everybody that played with evil had burned out.
Yes.
You cannot play with evil and stay on the safe side.
That's right. We got either or.
Either or.
Thank you for that, Elena. We're heading into our third break. We got about 14 minutes left into the show. You still got time to call in those health questions on Guam 671-472-1111 and the CNMI 670-323-1113. We're streaming live on Facebook. Go ahead and leave your comment in the comment section below, and we'll get an answer for you right away. You can listen live online, joyfmradio.net. You can also email your question to health@joyfmradio.net. We'll be right back.
It's rugged, it's tough, and it's what you need to climb the mountains and traverse the valleys. But it's not the latest 4x4. It's a lot tougher. It's rugged faith. It's what's left after you've plowed through the muck and the grit and grime of life and survived. But you won't get it when the roads are easy going. Some people are looking for a luxury car kind of existence, but when they hit the hard roads of life, they quit. But not you. You found it's the tough times that make you stronger. The kind of faith talked about in James. The kind of rawhide faith that can actually rejoice in the tough stuff. Because you know that in time, God will win. And Isaiah 40 says when everyone else cops out, that's when you start to fly. But you won't get your wings till you get some traction to keep you from slipping when temptation comes along. That's rugged faith. You get it when you dig right into God's Word. And church alone just ain't gonna cut it. Rugged faith. Get it, because that's when the real adventure begins.
From Joy FM.
And we're back with more Total Health. Give us a call with your medical questions. Number to call in Guam is 472-1111. If you're in the CNMI, the number to call is 323-1113. Or you can text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. Now back to the program.
Yes, so we continue with this existential question about evil and good. And I was trying to be an advocate for God and to understand why God could not really bribe us. You know, He can't give us everything that we want in order for us to stay on His side. He's still a gentleman, and He's giving us a space to decide if we're going to follow evil or we're going to follow good. And many of us, even though we try to do good, we still end up doing some evil things because, you know, it can be from our upbringing. It can be because we might for some time be misled. But the truth always comes. The truth always comes forward, and we can see it down the road where it's going to lead. And so we are here. We are witnesses of evil and good. This is the only place in the whole universe, from what the Bible is telling us, that suffers because of evil times, because of evilness. And I don't know about you, but I would like to vote for God. I know that those evil times are going to finish, and there will be only goodness. But meanwhile, we have to go through it. You know, there are different ways of measuring evilness in people. And one of the scale that can measure that actually measures in people that do evil things. There are 22 scales apparently, and you know, in the beginning you're innocent, or you're misled. And then it goes to, you know, a little bit more intentional, where the last 22 levels or that scale is for really psychopath murderers.
Oh. Is there a way that we can tell if someone is evil?
You know, that's a good question. We are all, the Bible said, born that way. You know, we are all sinful, but we need to work towards becoming good. There are different religions that say, no, we are born, you know, innately good. But Christianity does not support that. We see that when we're born selfish. You know, the baby wants this and I want this, and if I don't have it, I throw this tantrum. And you can see kids, you know, they're like, I want the best. Oh, that's mine. Oh, that's it's like we are born that way. This is what Christianity supports. You know, other religions do not always agree. And as times goes by, it takes time to yourself to be to cultivate goodness. But it can't come from yourself. It needs to come from a role model. It needs to come from a good upbringing. It needs to come, you know, from a God you love and you want to follow. For example, if I do good, it's not because I am good, because I want to do good for the one I love, for God, and, you know, other people. And it's not because it comes from me naturally to do that, because by nature, we're quite selfish. And that's why we have so many evil times, because we think primarily about ourselves. This is what Marilyn said, why the world is so self-centered instead of thinking about others, working for others, loving others.
And we have to, like what you said, we learn through steps and many courses we're taking, watching what our parents do, watching what others do. Say, wow, you know, we got to do good. And the leadership in in our lives of what we're saying, because you were talking about babies, and I was just thinking back when my kids were they used to throw the bottle at me because they didn't want that.
Right.
They wanted something else.
Right,
You
right.
know?
But when you look at that, you can't say, this child is evil. But we can see those, if you continue supporting that you're the best, you deserve the best, and we make our kids more self-centered, then down the road we can see more. And of course, pain also can contribute for people to harden their hearts, to become more close to themselves, for not choosing God because of the pain. You can either become a better or a bitter person, and so every day you decide if you're gonna be a better or a bitter person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And going back to the level of evilness, how many levels did you mention that there was?
So there is a scale that says 22 levels, where 22 is really the
Wow.
worst of the worst of the worst. When you have really detached completely yourself from anything good, you have chosen to be a serial killer. You have chosen, like very malicious crimes to commit, like on and on and on. And of course we can call it a sickness at some point, but it is really the cultivation of those bad evil habits in yourself, completely detaching yourself from God. And it's not difficult to detach. You just say, God, I don't want you in my life, and that is it. And then you can see and observe how evil can take over. Somebody might argue and say that, look, I don't believe in God, but I'm still a good person. Somebody can argue that, time shows only, because at the end of the times we'll have only two sides, good or evil.
Yes.
And everybody should, decide for themselves. And when I'm saying that we can maybe measure in some way the evilness in people, I have read so many stories of like criminals, 20-second scale, like the worst of the worst, actually accepting God.
Amen.
At the end of
Nice.
their lives. Even Al Capone, it's one of the most famous, Chicago's, mafiosos. He accepted God. He actually became a Seventh-day Adventist at the end of his life.
Oh, wow.
Not many people know. And I read about one of the worst serial killer that also became so. Like, he realized the mistake he has done. I'm not saying it's nothing what he has done. He has committed a lot of evil. He has caused a lot of pain. God has allowed that person to people to see all the consequences of those poor choices coming. And every time we suffer, it's because somebody is making a poor choice. Even our health, it's either our ancestors have done some poor choices that are reflecting on our health, or we have done something. It is very difficult, and the longer we live, the more we will see from that. But those people, even the worst, have turned around and have accepted God in a way that they have not found any other better explanation for their pain, for their lives, and they have not found love that measure more than that.
Well, thank you. There is hope in evil times.
There is hope in evil times, and this is what Marilyn found. She was going through so many different places. She was trying to find things until her, the good thing is that God always sends us somebody in the difficult times. He doesn't just leave us there and like, okay, you're by yourself. Let me see how you're going to manage. God sees our cries. Sometimes he intervenes before we even ask for help. And he sent her a friend, her grandmother, tried to introduce. So she went with a friend of a friend to a nice holiday. And in that moment, she kind of felt that life should not always hurt. There are good moments, and God is calling me to experience something more abundant. And she turned to God and she said, God, please help me. Reveal yourself to me. She met a person that was an atheist, and that person said, wow, you sound so weird. You sound like a person that you want to have purity in this life when there is no purity. And you remind me of a person, a friend of mine that is a Seventh-day Adventist just like you. And she said, what do you mean? It's like, oh, I can take you there if you want one day. So that person that was completely an atheist brought her to his friend, to the church of his friend. And she said, I went there and I felt so much peace. She asked that person, do you want to come with me to church? He said, no, thank you. That's nothing. That's not for me. He had a free choice to decide yes or no, but he brought her there. And she said, this is the place I found true and lasting fulfillment. She started gathering with people that see themselves, find some meaning within those times of evil. And it is very important when you struggle to struggle well, and when you struggle well to struggle together with people that can support you. We're not always ideal. We might not always offer the right encouragement at the right time, but God brings in every single person's suffering someone that can help. Maybe that person can carry you for a day or two, or maybe for some years, and that person might disappear, and then God will bring a different person. God brings those teachers in us that can teach us how to live in good lives, in good times. Life is short, we say. It's very short. Somebody will say, just enjoy the way you want it. But I say, eternity is long. Prepare for those good times. Cultivate those good qualities. It's not always going to be so horrible. It's not always going to be so dreadful. There'll be wonderful times. God is preparing amazing things for us. He's preparing a refugee place for all of us in heaven, where the streets are going to be made of gold and diamonds and whatever He wants. Good times are coming. Evil is not going to take hold anymore. But before sunrise, there is always darkness, and more evil times are ahead of us. I would like to encourage you, just like Marilyn. She found complete love in God, and she has never abandoned God since that time. She has helped hundreds of women that have gone through similar situations, broken marriages, broken homes, people that suffer with eating disorders, people that have committed horrible crimes. She has helped many. She's a health coach, psychotherapist, and she's helping so many people to find hope in their hardest times, those times of evil. I tell my patients, please, when you go through those evil times, do it well.
Right.
Don't go and drink. Don't go and find, some, erotic pleasure. Suffer it well. You will come on the other side. And all those coping mechanisms you are cultivating now will one day make sense. Well, be not a terror unto me, Jeremiah says. Thou art my hope in the day of evil. We're going to continue facing evil in this world. But take courage, because God says, I know my plans for you in Jeremiah. Plans to give you hope and a joy, and not to harm you. Believe there is hope, even in your darkest of the darkest days.
Thank you, Elena. For the emotional health, 13 weeks to hope. This is week number 3, Hope in Evil Times. You can listen to the rebroadcast Sunday at 9 a.m. and the live show Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Thank you for tuning in to Joy FM.
Be sure to check with your doctors before making any sudden life changes discussed today. Total Health is brought to you in partnership with Guam Seventh-day Adventist Clinic, where health is their mission. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday.